opened our borders for mass immigration and immigrants from an entirely different cultural background. New and serious threats have emerged, and that is why CPAC is still necessary. Indeed, it is more needed than ever. There are two great existential threats that we are facing today. One is internal and one is external. First, there is Wokism, cultural relativism, the predominant idea in most of the academia and media that there are no objective truths, no loyalty, no freedom, no nation, no family. Everything to them is subjective. Everything is relative. Everything is interchangeable and without value. And that is the message of the leftish elites. They, the left, have sold so many countries out when they were in charge. They have eliminated their national sovereignty. They sometimes even wrecked its economy. They abolished its national currency. They destroyed its farmers. They ruined its middle class. They perverted the education of children. And last but not least, they have opened our borders for mass immigration and immigrants from an entirely different cultural background. And that brings me to the external threat, which is demographic. The population of Africa is bound to quadruple its present 1.4 billion to almost 5 billion by the end of the century. And 1/3 of them wants to move abroad and come to Europe. And in the past 50 years, governments have inundated us with mass immigration. Often not real refugees, but unskilled illegal immigrants and fortune seekers. Today, many of them are young, single men, not only from Africa, but also from Asia. And these immigrants do not benefit our societies. They cost us money and are an enormous strain on Europe's welfare system. Europe, indeed, today is facing an enormous immigration and asylum crisis. Because despite the massive cost, mass immigration was never discouraged.
And what are we left with? A permanent state of isolation, confusion, and disorientation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the New World Order. So what's the antidote? A strong Christian Europe of sovereign nation states. That's why we need to outright reject the lie that nationalism causes war. It's not nationalism or national sovereignty that causes war. It's expansionism. And where in Europe do we find that nowadays? In one place and one place only. Brussels.
Just look around you. In the most of Europe, there are neighborhoods that have almost become no-go zones. Territories where our women and daughters are no longer safe and our Judeo-Christian values have totally disappeared. Look around you and you can see people waving the flags of Hamas and Islamic Jihad and shouting anti-Semitic messages in many European capitals after the massacre of innocent Israeli civilians on October 7 last year. The Arab Center of Research and Policy Studies shows that 67% of the Arab world consider this barbaric massacre legitimate. And the truth is that many European nations today are overrun with more and more illegal immigrants and asylum seekers. More than we can handle. So why did we allow this? Why have we not stopped it? Which people have voted for this ridiculous policy? Why did politicians all over Europe refuse to do their duty and speak out against this madness? My friends, a conservative is someone who stands throughout history yelling, "Stop." My message to you is that if you yell, "Stop," at these ridiculous policies, millions of decent, good citizens will join you because they have had enough. Prime Minister Orbán is a brave leader who proudly stands for his country and the Judeo-Christian values of his people. He protects Hungarians against illegal immigration. And I wish more European leaders would follow his immigration policy today. And that's really necessary.
The Brussels leadership must go. They don't deserve another chance. Brussels needs change. There's a serious lack of respect. Leadership has failed. Europe's economy is declining. The green transition is thus a disaster. Ukrainian grain is ruining European farmers. Migrants are flooding across the borders. Crime is increasing. Violence is on the rise. They want to re-educate the children and hand them over to gender activists. This is a war vortex that can drag Europe into the abyss.
Let me walk you through the past 7 days in Europe. This week in Stockholm, 3 elderly women in their 70s were stabbed in broad daylight on the streets. In London, 4 people were stabbed in a time span of just 42 hours. In Paris, hundreds of Afghan migrants took to the street to riot. And in Brigalow, also in France, yet another church was burned down to the ground. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just a few incidents in just a couple of days on our beautiful continent. But we all know that these incidents aren't incidents anymore. If there's one thing that's for sure, is that we know, and our governments also know, that there is a link between mass migration and crime. In the Dutch city of Dordrecht, something interesting happened the other day. They announced that a new asylum center will be put in that little town. And what did the municipality do? They said, we are going to offer citizens who live in the vicinity of this center €1,000 to take extra safety measures. Our new reality in Europe consists of frequent rapes, stabbings, killings, murders, shootings, even beheadings. This did not used to happen before. This is a newly imported problem. Have we given up? Do we really accept the new reality that our globalist leaders have in mind for us? If we don't start to seriously fight for our continent, for our religion, for our people, our countries, then this time that we live in will go down in history as the time in which Western nations no longer had to get invaded by hostile armies in order to be conquered. This time will then go down in history as the period in which the invader was actively invited in by a corrupt elite. And not only did this corrupt elite invite the enemy in, they made the native population pay for it too.
In the realm of global politics, a notable trend has been the expansion of conservative movements beyond their traditional borders. One striking example of this phenomenon is the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, originally an American institution, now making waves in the heart of Europe, particularly in Hungary. Hungary, under the leadership of Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, has emerged as a central figure in this transatlantic alliance of right-wing forces. Orbán's alignment with CPAC reflects a broader strategy of forging closer ties with like-minded politicians, including US President Donald Trump. Their shared vision sees upcoming elections in both Europe and the US as opportunities to challenge what they perceive as the encroachment of progressive ideals.
I've just recently spoken at CPAC in the United States, and now I'm honored to address so many patriots in Hungary who are proudly fighting on the front lines of the battle to rescue Western civilization. Together, we're engaged in an epic struggle to liberate our nations from all of the sinister forces who want to destroy them. Every day, we're battling to preserve our culture, protect our sovereignty, defend our way of life, and uphold the timeless values of freedom, family, and faith in Almighty God. As president, I was proud to work with Prime Minister Orbán. We cracked down on illegal immigration, protected our borders, created jobs, and defended our traditions and Judeo-Christian values. That's so important, Judeo-Christian values. I look forward to working closely with Prime Minister Orbán. Conservatives will win the battle to save our civilization from the communists, Marxists, and fascists, and restore the reign of conservatism and common sense to the world. Thank you once again, and everyone at CPAC Hungary. Keep up the great work. You're doing a fantastic job, and you have a great Prime Minister. Thank you.
If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you more engaging content. Remember, stay informed, stay engaged.